What is up, YouTube? Spawn here. Yeah, you can hear it in my voice. I'm kind of starting to get a little fed up with Tekken right now. Okay, I wouldn't necessarily say fed up. I'm just kind of annoyed right now, I guess you can say. And I'm gonna go over why. So I recently did a few matches. Whatever. Let's make this quick. I did a few matches, and I got hit by this move. Precisely 6 times. 6 times. Okay. So let's not make this video too long. So let's get straight to the case. Okay. Kazi here is set to jab. Okay. We all know how frame battle works. Leos +9, 10 frame jabs, the fast move you can have. So meaning I need something 19 frames or faster in order to counter Kazuya. If I don't have the frames to sacrifice, Kazuya beats me. But if I do have the frames to sacrifice, Kazuya loses. Okay. This is just counter hit is like one of the most common things in all fighting games all around. If you're stuck in a move, or maybe I just frame trapped you, you enter a counter hit state. Same thing as it is in Street Fighter 6. Same thing in MKX2, it just have a different property. Counter hit can either change the property of the move, which it did here, because on regular hit, it would just twirl him. But since he got counter hit, it changed the property. In Mortal Kombat, in Mortal Kombat in general, if you get counter hit, it doesn't change the property of the move because it doesn't work in games like those. It just increases the damage on what you already did, right? Or it increases your combo damage, normally what it would do, okay? So even still, it still changes some type of property there, right? Let's go on to our next move here. Like I said, I don't want to waste too much time, okay? We have another move called Power Crushes. This is another word for armored moves, or what we like to call it, technically a quote-unquote reversal. A reversal in the game is to basically, it armors through a move in order to get your opponent off you so you can take your turn, or it's just to create some type of space, okay? Right? It creates some type of space, right? It's just to get off you, right? Street Fighter has the same thing. It just has a different thing. Their moves are invincible, and here you just tank the moves, okay? But of course, being Tekken is the most balanced fighting game out there due to the sheer amount of option that you have to counter certain moves, right? Of course, I can just sidestep this, sidestep left or right, of course, or I can simply just grab him, right? Or I could just hit Kazu with a low, and of course, he's getting put into a counter hit state there, so you know what that means in Tekken. Combo launch, okay? Plain and simple. That's why Tekken is the most well-balanced fighting game, okay? Right? Now, here's where things start to get, what's the word? Fishy. This next move that I'm going to do defy the laws and properties of any fighting game. Probably already depict on what this move is. And if you guessed it, you probably are right. Rage Art. Rage Art has to be one of the most broken mechanics I've ever seen in a fighting game. Yes, even me coming from Mortal Kombat games, I think Rage Arts in Tekken 8, or Tekken in general, are even worse than Fatal Blows and MK11 when they were first introduced. I'm going for it. I'm going a long mile in saying it, dude. The reason why this is so bad is due to, well, the Tekken rules and fighting game rules. So, for one, all Rage Arts have armor. Armor kicks in on frame 1. That's nothing new to us, right? We play games like Street Fighter, we play games like Mortal Kombat, and even Tekken, and they all have like certain moves, such as like Fatal Blow or even CA or Super, that have invincibility or armor that starts up in frame 1, so that's nothing new. Absolutely correct, right? But if you come from the era of fighting games that I grew up in, well, I'm not saying I'm old, because even games like MK9, I was only, 9 years old when that game came out? But I grew up around the era of MKX, which came out in 2015. When that game came out, I was 13, 14 years old. That's the first fighting game that I've ever taken competitively. The reason why that's so important in this video is due to the fact that Mortal Kombat X didn't technically have any combat mechanics. Okay, there was X-ray, but there was a downside to using X-ray. You had 3 bars of meter, and to use X-ray, you needed 3 bars. If you used X-ray, they gave me the upper hand in the match because now you have no move to wake up with. You don't have access to armor. If I hit you, you don't have access to breaker. And now this allows me to get unlimited pressure because I know you can't get out. So technically, there would not be a combat mechanic in that form, which is the reason why I love the MKX in general. Okay. Even Street Fighter 6 is starting to tone down their quote-unquote comeback mechanic in Street Fighter 6 because Street Fighter 5, they have a comeback mechanic in that game called V-Reversal, right? Comeback mechanic is in the name of it, right? It gives you the ability, the more you lose health, it gives you an ability in order to, well, make a comeback, right? It enhances you as the player and not the character. So it gives you an opportunity to, well, make or break a fight, or possibly the entire game, which is what makes these abilities so strong. The Rage Art specifically? What are the pros to Rage Art, and what are the cons? Let's go over the good things, of course. We're going to take the good news first. Well, for one, at least for the person that's using the Rage Art, Rage Art does an immense amount of damage for just one button. The property behind Rage Art is the less health you have, the more damage it does. Okay, so the max amount of damage a Rage Art can do if you get caught by it is 50% of your life gone. Insane to me. Okay, but not only that. If I have Kaze here to not block, and I hit him with a certain move, okay, see how much damage that did, right? Let's look at that again. About 10% of his life was gone due to me hitting him with this move, okay? What happens if Kaze rages? He also gets damage reduction. But due to the mechanic of Tekken 8, he just gets that life right back. So there's 2 more pros added on to that. Fuck the bars. He gets armor on frame 1. Okay? Armor on frame 1. He also gets damage reduction on frame 1. What makes this so much worse is due to the new mechanic that they added in Tekken 8, which is the gray life, which means the more life you lose, there's a gray health bar that follows right behind it. As long as you have that gray life, you can refill that health by either applying pressure on defense or applying pressure on block or applying pressure on hit, which means it's so easy to get this move back. So since he tanked the hit, it gave him the gray life. Even though he already got damage reduction on top of that, since he's also hitting me, he just regains that health that he just lost right back. So technically, he lost 0 damage. He took 0 damage technically. Not only that, on top of that, he got a, what was it, a 20, close to even 50%. I'm going to close in the gap and say it was about a 35% damage reduction. Because again, he took about 10% there on actual hit, but since he tanked it, he only took about maybe 10%, maybe closing in on 9 or 8, which gives me the fact that he probably takes about 50% damage reduction while he does that, right? Not only that, you remember the rules on what happens if certain moves have armor? You can grab them, right? No. it defies that rule too. And you guessed it, even the lows. Even though I hit him with the low, even though he has armor, that's the main thing that prevents armor from prevailing in the first place is grabs and lows, but it defies that property too. So on top of that, there's 4. Armor on frame 1, damage reduction on frame 1, regains the health that he lost, and it enhances the hyper armor already. And it basically just removed the disadvantage of what armor has anyway. And on top of that, we can add that it has hyper armor, but I'm going to take that away because all armor in Tekken has hyper armor. There's a difference between super armor and hyper armor. Super armor is what we had in Mortal Kombat X. Most moves had about 2 to 3 hits. Most characters had about 2 hits of armor, but if you were like really good, like if you were like Kenshi or Ermac, you had 3 hits of armor, probably even 4, depending on the character that you were. But that's still super armor because it's still a limited amount of hits that I can do before I actually get to the main hits and actually break the armor entirely. With hyper armor, no matter how many hits I give to Kazuya, if he doesn't die, he will take every single hit. Which means if I hit Kazuya with 50 hits, he will still armor through it as long as it doesn't kill Kazuya. Okay? Here's another thing that defies the rules of Tekken. I'm sidestepping here. Sidewalking. He still hits me. I'm sidewalking. I'm sidewalking here. And not only that, for the amount of benefits that it has, it starts up in 20 frames. So something that has this amount of pros, advantages to it, and it's starting up in 20 frames is totally insane. Mind-boggling. So let's recap this again. Armor on frame 1, damage reduction on frame 1, regain the health, loses the property of being grabbed and hit. Okay? And it also defies the laws of Tekken of having no counterplay to it whatsoever. What can we do to counter this move? We have to block. We have to block. The only con to this move is that if I block it, it's minus 15, which is the perfect number to launch it. So let's not dismiss the fact that this is still a big risk for me to do as the player. Rage Art is still a huge risk. But what makes this so worse is that since there's no counterplay to this, not only that, guess what? You remember what we just went through earlier, right? About frame data? Okay? About the frame data of me meeting certain guidelines or me meeting the amount of frames. Like obviously, if I don't have the frame to sacrifice, it has armor. Kazuya just tanks through it. Right? Kazuya tanks through it. We already done that already. But guess what? Even if I have the frames to sacrifice, let's see if you notice it. Did you notice it? Did you notice it? There is no counter hit phase that Kazuya has whenever he's doing Rage Art. Oh, sorry, there's no counter hit state. So let's go back over this once more. Armor on frame 1. Damage reduction on frame 1. Loses the property of how armor actually works. Gains health back on hit. You cannot sidestep. There's no counterplay to it. And he's not even in a counter hit state for me to punish him for mashing in the first place. Fuck the bars. My only option here is to block it. That's my only option. Even if you manage to sidestep it, your sidestep has to be fucking perfect. I was flabbergasted on that. I didn't even have the words to explain to you. You don't even get a counter hit state for them mashing. So what this does is that it enforces when someone gets below that 30 health mark, you're the one in trouble, not me. Even though I got you down to that amount of health, you're the one that is in trouble because you have to make the guess of your fucking life, quite literally. And if you wrong, game over. But guess what? This is heavily not in your favor due to the fact that even if you do guess right and you hit them on the exact frame that they do it, you don't even get to kill them. Because that damage reduction still applies. That damage reduction still applies even though they didn't even get the full attack. Absolutely mind-boggling to me. So what this does is that it forces the oppressor, even though, yes, it forces me to like back off. Same thing as it was in Mortal Kombat 11. Whenever someone reached that fatal blow territory, you cannot move. The whole point of a fighting game is to, well, fight to come out victorious, to kill the other opponent. And if anything defies that, it's breaking the laws of a fighting game. And Tekken, I think you just been commended for doing that. Hand clap. You don't get one. I am totally done with this little rant. Let me hear you guys' comments down below. I want to hear what you think. Make sure you leave a like, comment, subscribe. And your boy, fuck the